Okay. Okay. All right, we're good. We're good. We're good. Now, this little smaller one is Nala, and if you see this mark on my face here, I either look like a big red clown or a really bad rapper. But that's because this little girl decided to claw me yesterday morning, and as cute as she is, and she has a very cute face, she is ferocious.
So ferocious.
I know, cute boy. I know. Hi, everyone. Today's gonna be a squat-specific Q&A. Let's get started. So what is happening, people? It is Brian, Alsruhe, NEVERsate.com, coming to you from my basement with my puppies, doing the squat-specific Q&A that I promised you guys probably like 2 weeks ago. However, a lot of things come up. The Black Friday deals with all of those programs. That was so awesome, you guys. All of you showed every program. Then we had Thanksgiving. Then I had the awesome seminar that we just had at the Lions Den. That was such an amazing experience. So that brings us to currently now, which means we're doing the Q&A. Now, I'm pulling a lot of these questions from my Instagram account. If you guys are not following me over there, you definitely should be, because I do a lot of other stuff with my lifting and other things that are not involved with the YouTube channel over there, as well as special deals and everything else. But I will definitely tell you guys, it is so much easier for me to pull the questions off my Instagram page than it is rooting through all the YouTube stuff. So I'm much more likely to answer your question if it comes over on Instagram than it does on YouTube. And I believe the next Q&A is going to end up being a deadlift one. So if you guys do want to jump on that, go ahead and start throwing some questions down below for a deadlift specific Q&A. But let's get into the squat one right now. I'm going to get as many questions as I possibly can. Hopefully I can get through a lot. Hopefully this voice holds out. Duh. All right, first question is, how do you break through a squat plateau? So there are 10,000 different ways to answer this question, from changing your programming to changing your rep range to changing even where the bar sits on your back. We just had a guy over this weekend for that seminar just change the bar position, and he got like a 20-pound PR instantly, right? So sometimes it's just a little technique change like that. To be honest, the biggest changes that I've ever seen in somebody's squat that happen quickly are because of their breathing and bracing, where people go from a weak breathing and bracing situation to a strong breathing and brace situation, which instantly shores up their foundation, and people are able to instantly squat a ton more weight. So I would tell you to focus on your breathing and bracing plays. I always tell people, if you focus on your brace, your legs will take care of themselves. That's exactly why you can leg press 2,000 pounds, but you can't squat for 315. So focus on that brace. Learn to do that correctly. I have plenty of videos on it. That will make all of the difference in the world on your squat. Thank you for your question. All right, next question. KP Training asks, what's my favorite squat variation and why? First off, what's up, KP Training? I hope you're doing well, man. Secondly, I would probably have to say it definitely has to do with the SSB. I'm just undecided whether I like the hands wide. Okay, we're settling it. I'm going hands wide, all right? So the hands wide SSB, where I can actually hold on to the outsides of the thing, and if I add chains especially, or bands, just for the unstable type of training in that and having to be explosive, that would be my favorite squat variation. Number one, because the SSB is already a lot harder than a barbell in my personal opinion, at least for where my weak points are on the squat. It makes it a lot tougher for me. Secondly, if I take an SSB where I'm holding it like this and then move my hands out wide, it makes you so much more top heavy that you're already getting folded from the very beginning. So you need to brace so much harder. It is like combining a overhead squat with a good morning with a regular squat, and then you throw an SSB in there, and then you add some chains. I absolutely love it. It is what I'm doing right now. This answer probably changes all the time, because literally probably 6 months ago I would have said front squats. But I keep playing, I keep learning, I keep finding things that I like even more and more than old things. So yeah, man, I hope your training's going well. Thank you for the question. Which leads us very nicely to the next one, which is, how do you keep a heavy bar on your shoulder during front squats? So a lot of people have questions about the front squat and what to do, as far as people have problems with their arms going numb, people have problems passing out, people have problems with a lot of things on the front squat. Here's the deal with front squat. When you're throwing the bar, if you have the bar placed appropriately, a lot of you guys are still holding the bar in your hands. On the front squat, that could not be more wrong. It has to be sitting on top of some sort of biomechanical support. So your bone structure on your body, sitting on top of your delts, sitting on top of whatever you can get on top of your body depending on what flexibility you type of have. All right, but a couple things you can do on the front squat that are automatically gonna make this better. Number one, when you get underneath a front squat bar, right? Dig that bar and get it as close to your chin or as close to your throat as you possibly can by sticking your chin way up in the air, okay? Once you're there and you drive your elbows under, I like to dig them one at a time to get as deep as possible. Sometimes I'll go down to 2 fingers, 3 fingers, 4 fingers, whatever I need to do on that bar so that I can keep good contact, but I still have my fingers on the outrigger of the bar. But that thing is slammed right up against your throat. Now that's gonna make it very uncomfortable, not only for breathing, but also a heavy bar on the front squat position will cut off a portion of your carotid artery, and that's why you will start to feel like you're going to pass out. Couple things you can do about this. Number one, if you flex your butt and you have a good breathing brace, you will not pass out. That's not true. You can still pass out, but just flexing your butt alone is going to fire up your posterior chain. It's going to take a lot of that weight off of your carotid artery, which is going to do amazing things as far as making the world a lot less woozy. Now, the way that I typically do this on the front squat is I will get a huge breathe and brace. I will stand up with the bar and I'll start getting backwards. Once I'm backwards to where I'm walked out of the bar, I will flex my butt and then I rebreathe again. There is such a short amount of time. You're like almost on a clock the second that you walk out of the front squat that's heavy, that's going to make you pass out. You have literally seconds before you need to make a decision whether you are going or not going. Funny story about me. On front squat one time, I was all alone in my gym, this before I really had any members, and I was recording nothing but my own lifts. I was not recording videos in this sense, just my lifts. Anyway, I have a camera set up. I'm going for a 500-pound front squat, which at the time was a massive deal for me. I get under it, I walk it out, the world starts closing in, turning yellow, right? If you guys have ever done a really heavy front squat, you know what I'm talking about. The world is just slowly closing in. I'm losing consciousness. I have to make a decision whether I'm gonna go or not, right? Then my legs start shaking and I start doing like a funny kind of convulsion kind of thing. I ditch the bar just to get away from it. I turn to go because I'm passing out, and all I know is that I need to be on the floor because it's gonna be a lot better for me to be on the floor now than when I'm actually comatose and falling on the floor. So I dive headfirst onto the floor. Somewhere during that dive, I pass out, I'm gone, right? I wake back up 3 minutes later. The way that I know that it's 3 minutes later is because the camera that was recording catches this whole thing, the whole shutter, throw the bar, turn, dive, then silence. 3 minutes later, you see this. Which was me turning off the video, which tragically I ended up losing. I so wish I could post that right now. But to answer the actual question that was asked about the front squat, about keeping it on top of your shoulders, dude. When you go to unrack that thing, right? Like I said, tip your chin way up, dig your arms underneath, get as little number of fingers as you need to on the bar, just so you have a little bit of balance, like outriggers on a canoe. After that, once you're up there, you need to bring your chin down. A lot of people make the mistake on the front squat of looking up. And what happens is if you're in this position and you look up, your shoulders start to slope and you will lose a lot of the traction, a lot of the purchase that you have on the bar for the front squat. So after you're up and the bar is set against your throat, behind your anterior delt, on top of your bone structure, then you bring your chin down and that brings your shoulder up, which kind of locks into place between your throat and right behind your anterior delt. Now, if you have that position and you can hold that position during the squat, which is the tricky part, I can just about guarantee the bar will stay there because it's actually got kind of little natural J-hooks for you. But of course, those things are a lot easier said than they are done, but hopefully that will help you keep that bar on your shoulders during the front squat, and hopefully that will help some of you with your arms going numb or you're passing out. Make sure you're flexing your butt on the front squat. That makes such a difference when you're in the upright locked out position. Thank you very much for your question, man. I hope that helps. All right, next question. Any recommendations for shoulder mobility on the back squat? You're able to use a Duffalo bar, but not a straight bar. Now, look, man, I see absolutely nothing wrong with using a Duffalo bar. I think you should use all you want. Now, as far as mobility goes, I know a couple things, but everything that I know, Kelly Starrett has known, forgotten, relearned, forgotten. He's the dude that you want to talk to about mobility stuff. So go to Kelly Starrett or check out Becoming a Supple Leopard. He's got all types of mobility stuff that is way above anything I'm going to give you that's going to help you very much with this issue, man. Whenever I don't know the answer to something, I will try to either find it or definitely point you towards the person who does know, and Kelly Starrett is your man in this situation. Thanks for asking. All right, next question. Specialty bars are pretty big right now. Do you think the use of specialty bars, camber bars, SSB, etc., can help perfect form, or do you think it's just better working with a barbell? So, man, you know, I think it really depends on what you're trying to do. So if you're trying to be a pro powerlifter, then I would absolutely recommend using a little bit of specialty bars to work on your weak points. But the majority of your work, you're going to need to practice like you play. So that barbell is going to be what you sleep with. You know, like there are many barbells, but this one is mine type of thing. You're just going to, that's what you're living with. That's why powerlifters will go in and do the squat, bench, and deadlift 3 times a week at different intensities. Me personally, my personality cannot handle that type of monotony. That is not me. I personally love using specialty bars. I just did a review on the ones that I use the most and where I use them and stuff like that. So definitely go over and check that out. But I really love using specialty bars for the sheer fact that if you are a strongman or you're just a regular lifter that's lifting for personal reasons or maybe a competition once a year or whatever the case may be, where you can kind of hone those skills as competition gets closer, but the majority of your training, 10 months out of the year is just kind of for yourself or whatever personal goals you have. I would highly recommend using especially bars. The body doesn't really like to use a straight barbell very often. You think about when you're doing squats, a lot of people get shoulder pain, elbow pain, wrist pain, a lot of problems there. When it comes to benching, the number of shoulder problems because of a straight barbell is absolutely insane. Same with the overhead press. Deadlifts, there could be arguments for the trap bar. Personally, I think a straight bar deadlift in front of you is much better for you than a trap bar, but that is just my personal opinion. There are a lot of opinions, and it doesn't matter that mine is the only right one. Write that down. But this actually comes up a lot on my personal programs. People want to know where to use a SSB bar or a Swiss bar for benching, and I'm like, man, unless you're training for a specific thing, at which time that matters, but if you're just training for health and like happiness, then I would tell you to use SSB as much as you possibly want to, because if your body's telling you, my shoulders feel a lot better when I hold on to something like this, or I just feel better with those pads on my shoulders, or maybe things are better when I have a neutral grip, semi-supinated grip, as opposed to the pronated grip on the barbell, then I think you should absolutely do it, man. If it helps you stay training happier for longer, absolutely use those specialty bars. I am not a purist or a traditionalist in that, like, this is the way it's always been done, so that's the way it should be done. I think that is the easiest way to stay exactly the same as you always have been. If there are tools that you can use that help your body feel a little bit better to get through this game and stay in it longer, then I would absolutely recommend you using them. But again, if you're doing something for like a specialty competition, then if you're doing powerlifting, I would only use it briefly to address your weak points, and then I would, of course, use the main barbell for the majority of your work because you got to practice like you play. I hope that answered your question. Thank you very much for it, man. All right, next question is more of a statement that I just need to address. It says, you always say move your feet out when initiating your squat. Can you please explain it? Okay, you are from Bangladesh, so I'm pretty sure this is a language issue thing. I've never said move your feet out. I always say move your knees out. So I do want you taking your feet and trying to externally rotate them, like trying to screw them into the ground outward, but they shouldn't actually move. That should just be like the intention of what you're trying to do with your foot. But I do always say push your knees out to initiate the squat as opposed to pushing your butt backwards. Now, I know a lot of people teach the push your butt back, and that is completely fine. Here's the thing about myself and all my athletes. And what we end up doing is when you push your butt back, you start sticking yourself in a not as advantageous position to biomechanically support the weight, in my personal opinion, for where most people hold the bar. Now, if you're gonna drop the barbell way down on your back to like a extreme low bar position, then you absolutely need to hinge at the hip, there's no doubt. Now, for most of my athletes, the world champions that we train, stuff like that, I would not consider their low bar position to be so extremely low that they need to be breaking the hips. I still prefer that they break at the knees first because the breaking of the hips is just naturally gonna happen. However, if you break at your knees first, it allows you to keep your body more erect and upright for longer, which allows you to support that weight longer, and then you continually push your knees out as you get further and further down to the squat, because a lot of people, when they're near the bottom of the squat and they're having problems hitting depth, they try to adjust the depth on the barbell by just dipping their body down. Like somebody's saying, lower, 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 and they're not pushing their knees out. They push their knees out. It would allow them to make room to receive their body. Much like a pregnant woman, when she sits down, she doesn't push her butt back to sit down because then she falls backwards. She pushes her knees out, and that allows space for her legs to receive her body. I would tell you to do the exact same thing in the bottom of the squat. If you're having problems with depth, just continue to push your knees out so that you have room to receive your body and you'll hit depth. A lot of times when people are pushing their butt back, they're just thinking continue to push your butt back, which is just leaning you further over, which is not changing your hip angle, which isn't changing the depth of the squat, and it's only sticking you more in a good morning position than an actual squatting position. So for me personally, I've never had success with the pushing the butts back kind of thing. Now I know a lot of people have, and if that works for you, I think you should absolutely stick with it. For me and all of my athletes, which include world champions, national champions, state champions, everyone pushes their knees out first. I don't know whether it's just the way I teach squat or maybe it's something in the water around where I live, but that's how every single one of my athletes does it. So yeah, man, that is personally what I'm talking about. I'm not saying push your feet out. I'm saying pushing your knees out. I am saying screw your feet into the ground outward, like externally rotate them. But yeah, I just wanted to clear that up. So I hope that helps you out. If it was just a language thing, man, I apologize. I promise I'm not picking on you. Thank you very much for the question. All right, next question is, what is my opinion on knee sleeves? Should you wear all the time or just for heavy lifts? So I think it depends how your knee sleeves fit you. Now we're talking about knee sleeves, not knee wraps. So knee wraps are where you actually take that elastic band and you stretch it out and you wrap and then you walk like Frankenstein. I would not be using them all the time. That would be a mistake. Now, when you're talking about knee sleeves, you're just talking about those things that you slide up your leg, and if they fit correctly, you probably turn them inside out and then slide them up your leg. Now, those things you want to be snug, right? Now, a lot of people want to know that's cheating. You're getting something out of that. If you're getting anything out of your knee sleeves, it might be 5 pounds, it might be 10 pounds, but honestly, if you're wearing them the way that I wear mine, which is I will pull them up and I keep them on all workout long, all the time for every single workout, because on my bench days, I'm running around with kegs or sandbags, so I keep elbow and knee sleeves on all the time. Now, interesting fact about me, I never had elbow or knee sleeves until approximately 3 years ago. Never tried them once, never had them. I did not have a belt for the first 20 years of my lifting. Did not use straps, a belt, knee sleeves, elbow sleeves, nothing for 20 years. Got to around a 6, probably low 6 deadlift type of record, like 600 pound squat type of things without any of those things. What I will say is once people started giving me those things and I've started wearing them, I still haven't bought any, literally have not bought one sleeve, one strap, one anything. It's all been given to me. But the ones that I personally like to use, I wear all the time just because it keeps my joint warm and it keeps it compressed. Again, you might get 5 pounds in your squat, 10 pounds in your squat, maybe if they are super tight. But if they're super tight, you wouldn't be able to wear them all the time. The way that I wear them, I'd say is like 70% tightness, 100% being like you can keep them on for the set, then you need to take them off. And let's say 10% tightness is they're slipping down your leg. So I'm probably at about like 60, 70% where it keeps it warm. It feels like I'm getting a little bit of a hug all the time. And I love them, man. I hate training without them now, whether it has become a crutch or not. I honestly can't say. I don't want to think too much about that right now. All that I will say is that it keeps them warm, which causes less pain for me. Now, I am 38 years old, so I definitely have more pain now than I did when I was in my 20s. But I would encourage you, if you are in any pain at all, or even before you're in pain, if you can afford them, maybe start throwing them on, at least for your heavy stuff, just to try to keep that joint as warm as possible, because the less damage that you can do to yourself during this journey, the further you're gonna make it in the game. 99% of people who have an amazing talent and amazing skill and a gift and a work ethic end up getting hurt before they ever see that potential happen. So if you can stay healthier longer, I would highly encourage it. I hope that answered your question, man. Thanks for asking it. All right, next question is, how do you stay tight at the bottom of the squat? I lose my tightness at the bottom sometimes and can't lift nearly what I should. Brother, that is your breathing and bracing. Like keep talking about this breathing and bracing thing. It is the most important thing. If you think about a soda can, when it is shaken up and sealed, you can't crush that thing, right? You cannot lose that brace. However, if you open it up, you can crush it. Whether it has liquid in it or not, you can crush that thing, right? That's exactly what's happening in your squat. If you are letting that air out at all, which has to be what's happening, if you're losing your brace, either you are relaxing somehow or you're letting your air out when you're in the bottom. One of those two things is happening, and that's what makes you collapse, man. If you are full of air, and I mean full of air, most people think when they have a full belly of air, they probably need about 60% more air in their body before they're actually full of air. But if you are full of air and brace down correctly, the bottom of the squat is not a problem. You hit bottom and you rebound out because there's so much pressure down there that you feel like you are going to die. I'm not kidding. That was the hardest part. When I first squatted 700 pounds, when I was going down, the amount of pressure that was building up as I got to the bottom, because everything was getting compressed and compressed and compressed, it felt like I was going to die. If you're not feeling like that, it's probably because you are not having enough pressure inside that's being built, because the actual bottom hole of the squat is always a pop. And then you get into the fight right outside of the hole of the squat. But if you are breathed and braced correctly, bottom of the squat is not the problem, man. So make sure that you're getting a ton of air, enough air, you're bracing it down, and then you're staying tight, and make sure your technique is spot on, because it very well could be that you're leaning too far forward, bar's getting over top of the middle of your foot, and that's what's making you collapse, man. Otherwise, it's 100 your brace. I'm sorry, man. I hope that answered your question. Thank you very much for asking it. Nala, what are you doing? Stop chewing things up. Let's answer the next one together. All right. I don't like that question. That's it. Okay. All right, next question says, squatting requires a lot of confidence and not being afraid to fail. What do you do to mentally get over those mental hurdles? Look, man, I think you might be looking at it wrong. Everything is like that. I mean, driving is extremely, extremely dangerous. The chance of you leaving your house and not coming back are good, all right? The chance of you getting underneath the squat bar and not coming back, I don't know. But I'm betting it's better than driving. So you definitely need to keep it in perspective, man, but you really need to think about the fact that as long as you have safety pins or a spotter or whatever the case may be, what's the problem with failing? I mean, you're going to fail. At some point, you're going to get underneath the squat as long as you're pushing yourself, and you're going to fail. You're going to fall on the ground, you're going to look stupid. Hopefully you don't get hurt, things like that, right? But it's going to happen, man. Happens to everyone. You didn't learn to ride a bike by not falling down a couple times. It's going to happen. So don't be afraid of it, man. Everyone fails. It's just what people do after they fail. And if you're afraid of it, you need to remember that there's absolutely no courage or bravery without that fear. So it's fine to fear that fear. It's just not okay to let that make the decisions for you. Excuse me. Guys, hey, I 100% believe that the biggest confidence builder in the world for anything is preparation, right? So if you've come into this and you've hit all the reps of all the sets of all the workouts that you're supposed to be to go for this big squat PR, then you should have the confidence that you put the work in, right? The hay's in the barn. If the program is good, then by all means, if you do things correctly, you should be set up, right? You should be good to go. So if you're not prepared, I could understand the fear, but also a lot of people do different things before they go into a big squat or a big deadlift or a big whatever that I think messes them up. So some people think because they have the fear that they need to get super amped up and play super loud music and scream and beat their head against a barbell and do whatever, but that's sending a bunch of signals to your body that your body's not used to handling, you know? So when you're normally going for a 85% squat rep, you're not jumping around screaming. Maybe you are. I don't know. Maybe that's your game. I don't know. Lose my number. But for whatever reason, when it gets to 100% or above 100%, people start doing things, and your body starts receiving all these warning signals. Your sympathetic nervous system starts kicking in. Your fight, flight, or freeze, and it starts saying, "Wait a second, this isn't normal. Why are we freaking out about this? Why are we acting like this? What's going to happen to us?" Right? And it's trying to play catch up while you're sitting there going, yeah, just screaming, trying to get more and more amped up, and your body's going, I don't want to do anything right now because I don't understand what's happening, which is pretty much the opposite of what you want to happen on something like a squat, which is actually, it is a gross motor skill, but it is a lot of skill involved in it. There's a lot of cues that need to happen, a lot of balance that needs to happen. It's not like taking a big rock and throwing it over. I could say that you could even get more amped for a deadlift than you could for something like a squat. So what I personally do before a squat mentally to prepare is I just get extremely focused. Now, if you guys have ever seen me in real life or you have seen it on video, I pace because I'm going through my cues. I'm literally visualizing what's gonna happen before the squat takes place. I see myself get it, but I do not lie to myself. I don't say, oh, lightweight. It's not lightweight. You know it's not lightweight. The bar knows it's not lightweight. All your friends know it's not lightweight. So screaming about it is only gonna shock me when I go to pick it up. So I'm honest with myself. I say, man, this can be brutal. This is gonna feel like a house, but it doesn't matter. You're going to do your job. It doesn't matter what happens to you in life. You step up and you do your job. That's exactly what's going on here. So literally, I'm walking around, I'm seeing myself get it, and I'm getting that in my head. Like, whatever fear you're feeling, whatever trepidation you have about this, about your knee not feeling great, about your back hurting, get that out of your head, because right now you have one thing, and that's following your cues. You do your job. So I walk and I walk and I walk, and typically that walk speeds up until I walk towards the bar, and I walk towards the bar like I'm about ready to punch in the face. And there is zero anger in me. It is not anger, it's just focus. I am 100% there at that moment. I'm not thinking about what I'm eating later. I'm not thinking about whether I'm going to get this or not. I'm not thinking about success or failure. I'm simply thinking, do your job. Follow your cues, do your job. It's something my dad taught me a long time ago in my life, that when things get overwhelming, all you need to do is execute. You follow your plan, you practice your training, you do what you're supposed to do. And that all got boiled down to do your job, right? So for me, literally walking up to the bar, that's exactly what I'm saying in my head. That's what I'm going through. And mentally, when I get to that place, it doesn't matter whether I make it or I don't make it. It really matters whether I follow those cues. Now, I will be honest with you, if I do not get a rep, typically there is an explosion, and it's because I have still a lot of energy there that didn't get expended. Like, it was supposed to get expended and it didn't get expended, and now it's there and I don't know what to do with it. And yeah, so I totally understand, man. But The mental preparation is going to be different for every single person. That is personally what I do, but yeah, man, it's not, don't worry about the fear. The fear is going to be there. It's about what you do after the fear. You can't let that dictate your decisions, especially if you let a squat dictate your actions. Trust me, when someone comes down on you with a gun, you're going to let them dictate your actions too. So you start building those little toughness and courage muscles now on these small things, because when it matters on the big things, what decision you made back there becomes a habit and bleeds over to other areas of your life, man. So start making those right decisions. I hope that helps you out. Thank you very much for the question. And here's time to lose some subscribers. The next question is, what is your opinion of the repetitive squat? I've seen a lot of hate on this particular style, and I'm curious what your thoughts are. Here's my thoughts on repetitive squat. I don't care. If people like doing it, they should do it. The only thing that I'll say about that style in general is that I feel like a lot of people are trying to stick everyone into kind of one situation where it's like one placement of the bar and one hip position and one everything like that. And I just don't think that's how humans are built, because I've stood next to Brian Shaw and his body moves different than mine. And I've stood next to Nick and his body moves different than mine as well. So I just think that it's going to be a personal thing, and everyone should figure out what works for them. Now, I think you should take some time and try to learn that squat, because there might be some aspects that you really, really can use, right? And then you take those aspects that work for you and you discard the rest. Just like Bruce Lee, right? He wasn't like dogmatic about Kung Fu's the only way, or Karate's the only way, or Jiu-Jitsu's the only way. He was like, man, I'm gonna take a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I'm gonna keep what works, I'm gonna throw away what doesn't. Just like that sculpture, you're not trying to add more clay to it, you're just trying to strip away the stuff that doesn't really matter, so that at the end you have the actual truth revealed. When it comes to like a squat, I think you should try my way. I think you should try the Riptor way. I think you should try the way Eric Lillibridge does it. I think you should try how Ed Cohn does it. I think you should try everyone. I think you should take a little bit of mine, a little bit of his, a little bit of hers, a little bit of theirs, and use what works for you and create your own style, man, because you're not me. You're not him. You're not her. You're not going to be able to move like them. It doesn't happen. Now, you can try to replicate a little bit, but bottom line is you guys had different parents, so not everything's going to be the same, so you're going to have to tweak things a little bit for yourself. And the sooner that you start on that path, as opposed to trying to stick yourself a round peg into a square hole, the sooner you're going to find it, and the sooner you're going to start making gains that actually get to where you want to be. So I hope you decide to do that sooner than later, man. I hope that helps. I hope that answered your question. Whew! Thank you very much for it. Tea time. All right, next question. I have decent wrist mobility, but can't seem to keep my elbows from dropping when coming out of the hole on a front squat. Any suggestions? Yes. Has nothing to do with your elbows, my friend. It has to do with your knees. So what happens a lot of times with people in the front squat or the squat in general is when your knees collapse, as everyone's knees collapse to some extent, right? When your knees collapse in, your butt shoots backwards. It's just what physiologically happens. That's how the body moves, right? So knees collapse in, butt goes backwards, bar comes forward, all right? If you're in a front squat position like this and your butt goes backwards, your elbows go down. It has nothing to do with your elbows, man. Your elbows are probably in a fine position. Definitely still fight for your little Iron Man symbol or your Superman, Batman chest. Your chest got to be up. Your chin's got to be down, locking that bar in. Your elbows got to be pointing towards the horizon. However, if you're locked in that position when you're going down and you're coming out of it and your elbows are dropping, most likely it's because your hips, man. Your hips are shooting back because your knees are going in, so you need to work. Definitely start pushing your knees outward by externally rotating your knees, and also start your descent by pushing your knees out so you're already focused on it, as opposed to pushing your butt back, especially on a front squat. If you're doing that on like a low bar squat, it's okay to an extent, in my opinion. But if you're pushing your butt back on a front squat, you are making a massive, massive mistake. So definitely stop doing that. But thank you very much for your question. All right, what might be the last question is, do you think changing your squat stance to a wide squat style would make for a good squat accessory? Like if you normally squat low bar with a wide stance, would it be beneficial to squat narrow stance as a high bar as an accessory? Yeah, I mean, switching anything up is good. The only thing I will say is, if you're used to keeping your legs in close, putting them out wide sometimes sticks your groin at a very dangerous position. I actually pulled my groin doing wide stance box squats when I'm not a wide stance squatter whatsoever. And I was doing wide stance box squats, pulled my groin, and a pulled groin in that situation, at least in my situation, took me like 6 months to go over. So you guys go back and look at some of my early squatting videos where I'm doing like 585 type of stuff. You'll see a voodoo band wrapped around the top of my leg like it's a tourniquet trying to cut off the circulation. That's literally because my groin was pulled so bad that squatting was excruciating. However, taking a voodoo band and cutting off all the blood to it made it numb long enough that I could squat like 500, 585 and then take it back off and somehow survive. That was smart. So yeah, be very, very careful if you're normally a narrow stance squatter and you're trying to go wide, because I think that can get dangerous. But if you're a wide stance squatter and you bring it in narrow, I think that can only help build up the outer sweep of your quads. So throw different stimulation on those muscles. Any type of change is going to help your body just kind of adapt a little bit, which can always lead to more progress if you do it correctly. I hope that answered your question, man. Thank you very much for asking it. Guys, to everyone else, thank you so much for being patient with me about getting the squat specific Q&A out. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys learned something. I will be doing a deadlift one because I'm getting ready to do the deadlift assistance finishers video. Then after that, on that video, I'll be asking for the deadlift, of course, questions. If you guys do want to leave some deadlift questions here, that would be absolutely amazing, guys. I just need to say thank you again to every single one of you who was at the seminar this weekend, or to everyone who bought Black Friday programs, guys. It's been an absolute whirlwind. That's why it's taken a while to get this out, but it's been such a just awesome whirlwind of gratefulness for you guys just being so supportive and so cool. So, man, like I always say, I'm living my dream, and I couldn't do it without you guys. So I just thank you so much. Thank you for these questions to each and every single one of you who took the time to put it in. I'm sorry I didn't get to all of them. I tried to get as many as I could. I will catch up with you guys later in the week, but until I do, go out to something amazing in your lives, guys. Keep working hard. Be nice to each other. Do your squats. Trust me, it's your breathing and bracing. I'll see you then.